We welcome everyone to lovely downtown Wilmington, Delaware. Championship boxing is back and alive in the first state. We're coming to you inside the gorgeous Chase on the Riverfront, historic Delaware, for what should be an explosive night of championship boxing. Brought to us by David Feldman Promotions, in association with Nelson Promotions and King's Promotions and Casino Delaware Park. We present to you Skill versus Will. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Rich Quinones. We've got a stacked card this evening. It'll culminate with our main event slated for 12 rounds for the vacant WBF Cruiserweight Championship. Roy Jones Jr., the legend inside the ring, perhaps trying to get one more win on his resume. He'll go up against a tough legend in his own right, the bare-knuckle brawler, Bobby Gunn. And with that, I turn my attention to my broadcast partner this evening, Mark Abrams. And Mark, you talk about a matchup made in heaven. We've got skill, we've got will, we've got a 48-year-old Roy Jones Jr. How much gas is left in the tank?
Well, talking to him like I did this week, you think it's 2001, 2002 all over again. He sounded confident. He sounded like the Roy Jones Jr. of old and not an old Roy Jones Jr. He wants to take one more shot. He believes he's got one more shot at a world title, but he first must get by Bobby Gunn. If you can't get by Bobby Gunn, forget about that. Those dreams are long gone. And
what's really interesting, and when you look at Bobby Gunn, 73-0 as a bare-knuckle boxer, has close to 30 professional fights on his resume. What's the game plan for Gunn going into this one tonight?
Well, like you said, he's a brawler, he's a puncher. He's been coveting this fight for 7, 8 years. This fight actually was supposed to happen, 2 or 3 times already. It's finally here. Bobby Gunn says it says on the record he's been inactive for 3 years, but he's had 10, 11 bare-knuckle fights, and he told me a fight is a fight. I've been active. I'm the sharper guy, and I'm going to knock Roy Jones out tonight.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. For more on this championship affair, we'll go to our roving reporter for the first time this evening, Joe McEwen III. Joe?
Skill versus will indeed, men. Everybody knows Roy Jones Jr. is one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in the history of the game, but do not underestimate Bobby Gunn. He has crippling power in that left hook, and he is going to bring it tonight, trying to bring a title home. We're going to have an exciting event. The undercard stacked. Let me kick it back to you, Rich and Mark.
All right, Joe, appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you throughout this evening. And again, it is just a capacity crowd. They're selling out, they're filling out, they're ready to go, they're excited. But don't forget, we've got a scintillating co-main event as well. I don't want to call him a prospect, Mark Abrams. Kanat Islam, 22-0, 18 knockouts.
And he's from Kazakhstan. When we think Kazakhstan fighters, we think of Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, the world middleweight champion. But in that area, in Kazakhstan, there are a lot of people who believe that Kanat Islam, in terms of popularity, has passed Golovkin. He sold 18,000 seats in October against Patrick Alote. He won that fight. He was also mentioned to fight Canelo Alvarez. To get fights like that, whether it's Canelo Alvarez or the top dogs at 154 pounds, he's got to get past the tough Brazilian Robson Assis.
Yeah, and he's looking for an upset, perhaps try to spoil the party this evening. Not to be undone as well. We have a couple familiar faces along Delaware and the East Coast. The southpaw from Philly under King's Promotion, Frank D'Alba. He's in action tonight.
Frank D'Alba actually has kind of a tie to this Delaware area. The biggest fight of his career took place in December of 2015 against Omar Douglas, the native son from Wilmington. D'Alba fought a heck of a fight that night, came up just short, lost the majority decision. He told me, Rich, that in that fight, he learned so much about himself. He said, I could have won that fight. Now I know how much talent I have, and the results have shown with 3 quality victories since then.
Listen, he'll be tested tonight. A durable opponent in Germain Mirza, who has close to 100 professional fights as well. And another return to the ring for a local fan favorite, Joey Tiberi. He's been away for 3 years, but now making his much-anticipated return to the ring in front of his family and friends.
Rich, we're in Delaware, so for a fight card in Delaware, there has to be a Tiberi. I call him the first family of Delaware boxing. Ironically, it's 25 years this week that the most famous fight, Dave Tiberi, who, and everyone said, beat James Toney, who was the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, who went on to fight Roy Jones. Correct. Ironically, right, a couple months after that, Dave Tiberi's in the house. He won that fight, got screwed on the decision. His nephew, Joey, who's been off for 3 years, told me last night, I've been off for 3 years, fights have fallen through. I want one more run at this to see what I can do in the sport.
Also tonight, we'll pay respect and homage to the late, great Marty Feldman, who passed away earlier this week.
Yeah, Marty Feldman, a fixture, a boxing legend in the Philadelphia area. A lot of people knew him throughout the country, in the world. Not only is he the promoter, he was the father of the promoter, David Feldman, just a great guy to have around ringside, trainer, boxer. This one's for you, Marty. Rest in peace, my man.
And also this evening, joining us will be Cyril Popita, who will be our unofficial scorer this evening as well. So we look forward to talking to him throughout the contest. We got a great card. We got a stack card. We're getting set. For the first time this evening, we'll go upstairs inside the ring to our ring announcer, Mark Fratto.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now live across the nation and around the world. It's time to meet the participants for the next bout. Please welcome first from St. Joseph, Missouri, boxing out of the red corner, Brian Timmons.
So as we get set for Brian Timmons taking on Joey Tiberius, we see the 35-year-old Timmons making that long walk into the ring. Lopsided record, but again, that can be misleading as well.
5-8 is the record for Timmons. But he's a tough kid from St. Joseph, Missouri. There's a lot of fighters who come out of that area. Usually tough guys who are durable and go some rounds.
Suffered 5 knockouts in his career. Coincidentally, he's 5-8. Does have a little bit of knockout power for 13 professional fights as well. But I think really the return, the story in this fight is going to be the return of the 30-year-old Newark native in Joey Tiberi. And I thought you said it brilliantly during the opening. When you think about Delaware boxing, you think of the Tiberis and that long lineage of fighters. You know, Joey Tiberi, I think, is certainly in a crossroads in his career, Mark, because when you look at it, he's only had 15 professional fights. He's already 30 years of age as we take a look at the aforementioned Joey Tiberi. If he wants to go full-time with boxing, it's got to start tonight with the win and try to get more activity.
Absolutely. And he's 13-2. He is, he's only, like I said, 2 losses in the 15 fights, and you hear the reception he gets. The name Tiberi may be only second to the name Biden in the state. So Joey, he's making his way in the ring for the first time since November 21st, 2014, which ironically was right in this very room at the Chase Center.
It was. And again, you look at his career, and it's interesting. He's had 2 losses, one to Tyrell Samuel several years ago, and then suffered a TK loss at the time to a debuting Corey White, who only fought 4 times in his career. And that was after that.
That was a fight that Tiberi, for whatever reason, just didn't have it that night. But he's had some decent wins since then, and he's back tonight. Like I said, he wants to make one more run to see what he can do in this game.
All right, we'll see what the graduate from St. Mark's can do. Coming off a 2+ year layoff, did incorporate a lot more running, swimming into his regimen. So we'll see how it pans out this evening as he gets set to take on the 35-year-old Brian Timmons. This one slated for 4 rounds, lightweight action. Good crowd this evening as well. Excellent crowd.
Not a good crowd, but a packed house here at the Chase Center.
Very, very good crowd this evening. All right, as we get set for the official introductions, we'll go inside the ring to Mark Fratto.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chase Center on the riverfront here in Wilmington, Delaware. This is Skill versus Will, all across the globe on pay-per-view. The following bout is scheduled for 4 rounds in the lightweight division. It's brought to you by David Feldman Promotions and presented by the Casino at Delaware Park. The judges for the bout are Brian Costello, Mark Datilio, and Dorothea Perry. And controlling the action at the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring will be Vic Diwaisaki. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at 138.2 pounds. He owns a professional record of 5-8, all 5 of those victories coming by way of knockout. Wearing black, trimmed with red, a native of St. Joseph, Missouri. Please welcome Brian Simmons. And his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of the blue corner. He weighed in at 136 pounds even. He comes to the contest with a professional record of 13-2. 6 victories coming by way of knockout. Wearing the Italian flag, green, white, and red, from Bear, Delaware, Jolton Joey Tiberi Jr.
Boxers, you've been given your instructions in the dressing room. Expect a good, clean bout. Obey my commands at all times and protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves, come out the bell.
All right, so we are moments away from the much anticipated return of Joey Tiberi. As we go to the tail of the tape, we go to Mark Abrams.
See, Timmons has the 1-inch height advantage. Weight, Timmons a couple pounds longer, and the 5 years older. Tiberi, though, has been off for 3 years.
All right, so it'll be the 30-year-old. And again, let's take a look at the rules this evening, Mark.
Scoring on the 10-point must system, the 3 knockdown waived for just in the title fight, no standing 8 bout. And a fighter cannot be saved by the belt in any round, Rich.
All right, so it'll be Tiberi taking on Timmons, slated for 4 rounds, lightweights. And again, the much anticipated return of one Joey Tiberi in his familiar red, white, and green Italian trunks. 35-year-old Timmons in a black trunks and the red trim.
Timmons actually coming off a win as well. November 5th, stopped Tanner Talbot in St. Joseph, Missouri. That was a 3-round stoppage. He's been stopped 5 times. So this could be the perfect guy to come back for Tiberi, for him to kind of, get his confidence back.
Absolutely. I mean, really knock off the ring, Russ, when you think about it. 2-year layoff. I mean, it's really tough. You have to decide whether you want to be full-time going forward. And a lot of times if there's inactivity, if there's issues with management, but be that his way, when you have that background, the Tiberi name, it certainly helps to get a lot of fights in Delaware. And I think eventually, as you alluded to, the 30-year-old will make a decision if he wants to be a full-time fighter going forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, obviously he's been works at UPS and also a concrete business. See if he has the concrete power in his right and left hands tonight.
Comes in shape, as he said. He was doing a lot more running, a lot more swimming, added that into his routine.
Joe doesn't know much about Timmons. He told me, I asked him, Timmons hits the deck, it's not an all he knows about Timmons, he's got 2 arms, 2 legs, a heartbeat, and a chin.
Also mentioned, too, tonight, Cyril Papati will be our unofficial scorer, so we'll routinely check in with him throughout tonight's telecast. Tiberi trying to go downstairs. Past the midway point of round number 1. Now Tiberi catches Timmons up top with a left.
Good right hand from Timmons.
Good counter. Another straight right counter by Tiberi.
Tiberi doubled over a little bit. I don't know if he got hit maybe in the body.
And you wonder, too, if he put a little too much pressure on himself because, again, the long layoff, the familiarity of fighting in Delaware. Obviously, he's got that fan base, local product, wants to make a good showing. Sometimes you can tighten up a little bit, see if he just gets through round number 1. Calm those nerves down a little bit.
Timmons was pretty flat-footed in there and pushing his punches.
I believe he's also managed by John Carden, who handles Galen Brown, which is interesting because Galen Brown has about 81 pro fights. Talk about a fighter that wants to fight almost every other week.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in that St. Joseph, Missouri circuit.
So again, first round in the books. Tiberi getting some early work in against Brian Timmons. Slated for 4 rounds, lightweight affair. The much anticipated return of the Newark, Delaware product.
Good first round, as he said. He could get hit, get that feeling of getting hit again. I'm sure Tiberi, it's a kind of like a bittersweet thing. You want to feel it and see if you can still take it.
Absolutely. But it's always tough, too. And we'll see this later tonight. I mean, especially when you talk about our main event with the 48-year-old Roy Jones Jr., it's not about ring rust, but it's about when is it time to hang him up potentially. Yeah. I mean, that is the fair question that a lot of people have been asking, and maybe Bobby Gunn answers that question.
Yeah, he actually has kind of been somewhat active, Roy Jones.
Which is, right, go figure, the irony with that. Winning 10 out of his last 11. All right, one of the books is we get set for round number 2. Tiberi and Timmons. Certainly a feeling out round for Joey Tiberi.
Tiberi flicking the jab out.
Not a lot of knockout power between the two. Tiberi just 6 in his career, and I believe Timmons 5.
All 5 of his wins. So I guess there it is, Timmons trying to bury
pressing the action early on in round number 2.
Both guys swinging hard just in case they hit something. Yeah, I guess if Timmons is going to win, it's going to come by knockout. You want to look at 10 of his 13 fights have ended with someone being stopped. See a little swelling under the left eye of Joey Tiberi now.
Trying to get that stick out there with that left jab. It really does have to be tough, and you don't want to belabor the point, but the inactivity, getting back in the ring for first time, you know, maybe perhaps feeding off the crowd as you can hear chants of Tiberi.
Jack Pett, chants of Joey. Good jab from Joey Tiberi.
Not much on Timmons' punches in round number 2. Good body shot, up top by Tiberi, connects.
Good left hand, Timmons took it well.
Under a minute to go in round number 2.
Nice counter jab there from Tiberi.
Tiberi found a home for it.
Right when the crowd started chanting his name, he started getting there.
Sure, he feeds off of it, absolutely.
Now he told me he's speechless at the support that he gets.
And you'll routinely see that, especially with fighters that have predominantly fought in one venue, one state their entire career. They typically get a little juiced. They get a little more feisty and they start to feed off the crowd. Good straight right by Tiberi, backs up Timmons.
There's been some active series of fights down here, at some venues, and Tiberi was able to, ply his trade between here and a couple places across the bridge in Pennsylvania. So he was able to garner a bit of a fan base. He told me he sold about 200 tickets for this fight.
All right, 2 in the books between Tiberi and Timmons. Action heating up a little bit in round number 2. All right, let's throw it to our roving reporter this evening, to Joe McEwen III. What's going on, Joe?
Well, I'm here with Dave Tiberi, and that's his nephew, Joey Tiberi, and they're fighting. Dave, what's it feel like to be as a spectator instead of in the ring battling it out tonight?
Well, it's a little tough. Having your nephew fight, it's easier if I'm in the ring because I know what I have to do. I think my nephew's a little hesitant tonight. I think this is the kind of guy you've got to put the pressure on and put out. I'm a style guy, and I think Joey now, I think by the 3rd round, I think you're going to see hopefully a different boy that's going to pick the pace up.
Fantastic, guys. We're going to kick it back to you, Rich and Mark.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. And, of course, familiar face in Dave Tiberi. And we mentioned in the onset, you know, you think of the Tiberi name and how many, many moons ago a championship fight really turned the tide in the really how you look at boxing going forward.
And he retired after the James Toney fight,
Yep.
so in many people's mind, he's the middleweight. He's still the middleweight champion of the world.
It's all semantics. Absolutely. All right, round number 3 slated for 4. Tiberi. Red, white, and green trunks. Timmins, black trunks, red stripes.
Good right from, you see Mr. Timmins turning southpaw for a second.
See if he can confuse a 30-year-old Tiberi who's seen a lot of tricks in the ring, but again, just 15 pro fights. Good to see him back in the ring in front of his faithful here in Delaware.
Tiberi trying to load up there with the left hook. Timmins just walked into something.
Yep.
He went down he might have twisted his ankle a little bit.
Get the gloves wiped down.
A good left hook from Tiberi. He's landing a little bit with that clean-up left hook.
I think you were right. He just needed to get that 1 round out of the way. Timmins now trying to apply the pressure. Tiberi up against the ropes.
Timmins he's almost asking to get knocked out. He's kind of like lunging in with left hands. He's doing it with no authority behind it. See if he tries it again here.
Tiberi going downstairs and then comes back upstairs with a left, catches Timmins. Under a minute to go, round number 3, slated for 4.
Places a nice right to the body, left hook.
Good crowd this evening.
Good body shots.
Yeah, Tiberi a lot more assertive. Late in round number 2, early stages then in round number 3. Started to find a home with that jab, went downstairs a little bit. Now trying to take over the fight. Again, his first return to the ring in almost 3 years. As we are closing in on 3 in the books between Tiberi and Timmins. Just getting warmed up here at the Chase Center in downtown Wilmington, Delaware. Don't forget our main event slated for 12 rounds for the vacant WBF Cruiserweight Championship. Roy Jones Jr., the legend at 48 years of age, perhaps trying to turn back the clock one more time against the bare-knuckle boxer in Bobby Gunn.
Should be a great fight. Want some of the fans, we can get interactive with them. Hashtag skill versus will. That's SKILLVSWILL. Hashtag skill versus will. We'll maybe post some comments, react to some comments throughout the night.
Some action from round number 3, Mark.
You see, there's a good left hook landed right on the chin, and Timmins nods in approval.
I think you made a great point. You get a couple rounds under your belt, it's like riding a bike. You don't forget how to do it. You started to see a lot more of Tiberi assert himself into that round number 3. See how he can close out round number 4. 4th and final round in this lightweight affair. Joey Tiberi, the Newark, Delaware product, 30-year-old, making his way back inside the ring for the first time in 3 years. Brian Timmons.
Timmons is going at it here. He's going after him. He knows he's probably behind on the scorecards. So he's
going for broke. 35-year-old trying to come out of here with a win. Good!
That's a good right.
Right again by Tiberi.
Timmons holds on. See, Timmons trying to get inside there, but
body shots by Tiberi now, really trying to work over Timmons.
Joey doing all the work inside. Misses with a left hook, and Timmons misses as well. Oh, good
body shot by Joey Tiberi.
That was one of those that hurt me.
Caught Timmons' attention. Midway through this fourth and final lightweight affair. Now, Tiberi got the call in late November for this fight from promoter David Feldman, and it could be a victorious return after a 3-year layoff. And body shots starting to add up against Timmons. In trouble right now.
He's going to go for the stoppage. Timmons is hurt.
Tiberi with a good left.
Timmons is in some serious trouble. And his body is really taking the effects of those short little uppercuts inside.
He want nothing more than a knockout for his hometown family and fans and faithful.
This fight's over.
That's it. That's it. And with that, Joey Tiberi with a triumphant return to the ring after a 2+ year layoff.
Terrific finish for Joey Tiberi. He's waited 3 years for that. And must feel like a big sigh of relief for Joey Tiberi.
Good return to the ring against an opponent who you knew was going to come to fight in Brian Timmons, but that third and fourth round, as we take a look at the victorious Joey Tiberi, as we get set to make it official momentarily, he'll move to 14-2. But more importantly, as you alluded to, Mark, he got rounds in, a little bit of rust here and there, but was able to really start to implement that jab, go to the body a little bit as well. So, good outcome for the Newark, Delaware, and St. Mark's graduate. And you just wonder going forward, again, the 30 years old, fights have been slim to none over the last several years for him, but a good showing this evening. I think he did what was expected of him.
Absolutely. He had the right opponent in there, and it's going to feel good. It's going to be a good night at the Tiberi house, and he's going to hopefully start fighting more regularly and up his record. You know what? He's 14-2 now, and we'll see some of the
yeah, and we see with that good counter right as well throughout the contest. Timmons took a shot. He delivered as well. Tiberi hung in there. I think you're right. There was a point of this fight where he started to take over in the third round, and then we saw those body punches. He was building equity. They started to add up as we see him double over Timmons right there. Vicky Iwasaki said that's enough.
Yeah, this was the beginning
as he halts the action. Yep.
Once you run away, you turn your back. It's almost like you're resigning from the fight. Here's the finish right here.
All right, so let's make this one official. We'll go back inside the ring to our ring announcer, Mark Frado.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee in charge, Vic Iwasaki, calls for a halt to this one. The official time, 2 minutes, 4 seconds in round number 4. Your winner by TKO from Bear, Delaware, Jolton Joey Tiberi Jr.
Joey Tiberi, good return for him into the ring. Timmons falls to 5-9. All right, we'll throw it upstairs to Joe McEwen III. Joe?
I'm here with our winner, Joey Tiberi. Joey, you lived up to your name tonight. Jolton Joey. Tell us a little bit about this tough fight you had from Mr. Timmons.
It was a tough fight. He kept coming. He was throwing punches. But, yeah, I don't even know what to say right now.
Well, it was the body work. It looked like the body work got him. You hit him with some thunderous shots to the body.
Yeah, it slowed him down a little bit, and then we heard him and we just jumped on him.
Great job tonight. Congratulations. Joey Tiberi, everybody.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Good job. So Joey Tiberi improves to 14-2. TKO, 7 knockouts now in his career. Brian Timmons, a 35-year-old, will fall to 5-9. As we take a look at some of the action, kind of encapsulate the fight for Tiberi, really working over Timmons to the body in this one.
Yeah, there's a big left hook to the head. That was one of the main punches that facilitated the knockout. You see, he acknowledged that he got drilled on this one, and here comes these little body shots inside. Timmons couldn't escape, and when he did, he had that look of resignment. He walked away, had his back turned to Tiberi, and here comes Tiberi in for the finish. Bang, nice right, and you'll see Vic Dwysocki, there it is. He said he's had enough, and that's it.
And certainly a fight that Tiberi can build upon, as we mentioned, the inactivity, but nonetheless gets the win, improves to 14-2. And I really just think it's an issue of deciding, I'm going to be a full-time fighter. Let me get some more fights under our belt. So as we get set, one of the books are next bout of the evening. This is an interesting one too, Mark, because you look at a fight on paper and you look at a very good fighter, a southpaw, in Frankie De Alba, a fighter that we're extremely familiar with, and he's going up against a very tough and grizzled Mexican in Germain Mirza, who's had close to 100 professional fights.
Well, Frank De Alba, like we said, 20 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. He's won 3 in a row. He's picking up the competition since the loss to Douglas, which was a hotly contested majority decision back in December 29, 2015. And like I said, he said the right things. A lot of times you learn more in losses than you will in 25, 30 wins. He said he realized that he could compete at the highest level. And he's now facing a guy who's had 97 professional fights.
All right, for the introductions on our next fight, again, we'll go back inside the ring to Mark Frado.
Ladies and gentlemen, the action continues. Let's meet the boxers for the next bout. Introducing first on his way to the ring and the red corner from Agua Prieta, Sonora, Mexico. Please welcome Herman El Penteonero Meraz.
Untouched to the ring. Let's go. No.
Frankie De Alba totally understands that his opponent is going to come forward. And like I said, as I alluded to, very durable, 55-41 and won 32 knockouts in his career.
Tough Mexican guy's been in with a litany of world champions, prospects, contenders. One of these guys that if, De Alba is going to go to the next level, get a fight with a Douglas type of guy or a contender at 130 pounds, you got to beat German Mirage.
Last 3 opponents combined 36-0-2 record. So when we talk about a fighter in the world of boxing, he will step up, short notice, take the tough fights. He's the definition of that, and certainly durable at 30 years of age.
You look up the definition professional opponent, and German Mirage's picture and his ring record appear in that definition.
And he went the distance against Carlos Castro, who's a really feisty boxer. He can try to rattle you, get under your skin and frustrate you. This is amazing, though, when you think about it.
And
Frank De Alba,
ladies and gentlemen, making
29 years of age.
Corner from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Please welcome
and just 24
Frank
fights in his career.
Santos De Alba.
Conversely, his opponent, 97 fights in 12 years, which we understand. A lot of the Mexican fighters, they get a ton of fights, a lot of activity. Interesting story on Frankie De Alba, the southpaw. You mentioned that fight against Douglas. Has won 3 in a row, so we know he can rebound against a tough opponent and a tough loss.
Yeah, and like I said, he learned a lot about himself, and he actually scored. The one thing about D'Alba wasn't known as being a big puncher, but he obliterated a kid named Keon Evans back on September 9th. Evans was once a top amateur fighter coming from Arkansas, I believe, and he obliterated him in 2 rounds. What a extremely vicious knockout. So maybe he's actually now settling down. The confidence has maybe made him settle down more on his power as well.
We'll talk a little more about his early start to his career as well, because he had an inauspicious start to his career for the 29-year-old out of Reading, Pennsylvania, by way of Bayamón, Puerto Rico. But again, this one will be slated for 8 rounds and contested at junior lightweight. So with that being said, we'll go back inside the ring to Mark Fratto for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, the action continues here. Skill versus will at Chase Center on the riverfront in Wilmington, Delaware. The next contest is scheduled for 6 rounds in the junior lightweight division. It's brought to you by David Feldman Promotions in association with King's Promotions and presented by the Casino at Delaware Park. The judges for this bout are Brian Costello, Mark Diatilio, and Dorothea Perry. Controlling the action at the sound of the bell, the referee in charge will be Bill Clancy. Introducing first, the boxer out of the red corner. He weighed in at 129 pounds even. He owns a veteran professional record of 55 victories, 41 defeats, and 1 draw. 32 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Wearing red, trimmed with gold, and hailing from Agua Prieta, Sonora, Mexico. Please welcome Herman El Panteonero Mera. His opponent across the ring boxes out of the blue corner. He weighed in at 130.2 pounds. He owns an impressive professional record of 22-2, 9 victories coming by way of knockout. Wearing blue and white this evening, representing Allentown, Pennsylvania, by way of Coamo, Puerto Rico. Please welcome Frank Santos de Alba.
All right, gentlemen, let's get it for 6 rounds with the rules in the dressing room. I expect a good, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. You must obey my commands. Golpes aquí, bueno. Debajo, no. Your punches here are okay. Below, no. Touch them up. Good luck. Buena suerte.
All right, so it'll be De Alba and Miraz, slated for 8 rounds, junior lightweight. 29-year-old Frankie De Alba, and for that, Mark Abrams will go to the tail of the tape.
Age even, but one guy's had 97 fights, the other guy's had 24, weights about even. Should be an interesting fight, good test for D'Alba.
Pretty much all you need to know about this bout as well. You got a ton of experience for the 30-year-old Mexican. As we take a look at the rules again, Mark.
Scoring in 10-point must system. The 3 knockdown rule has been waived just for the title fights. No standing 8 counts and cannot be saved by the bell in any round.
All right, slated for 8. De Alba in the blue trunks. Miraz, the 31-year-old, in the red trunks. De Alba with that familiar southpaw stance. 29-year-old, 22-9-2. So I mentioned a really inauspicious start to his career. 2-1-2, then rips off 15 straight before that loss to Douglas.
D'Alba, like I said, he even looks more confident in the ring. I've probably been at, 15, 18 of his 24 fights, and he looks like a more confident fighter. And I think it was like the 6th or 7th round of the Douglas fight is when that all changed. I think he realized he was in that fight against a guy who was a ballyhooed amateur, who was undefeated at the time, and D'Alba was holding his own the fight. He was maybe down a little bit on the scorecards, and he came on late. It was a terrific fight, and Omar is going on to face Javier Fortuna in a great fight, and he's got a big fight against Edner Cherry coming up as well.
Loves to go to body, very solid counter puncher. see how it plays out. Early stages, round number 1, again, slated for 8. And De Alba knows going into this fight, anytime you go against a Mexican fighter, durable fighter, they're going to be tough, they're going to be gritty, and they're certainly going to come forward. Make you work the 8 rounds.
See, we're getting a lot of feedback on our #SkillVsWill page.
Everyone can certainly get social with us on Twitter, Facebook as well, leading up to what we believe should be a explosive main event between Roy Jones Jr. and Bobby Gunn. First things first, though, Meraz and De Alba.
I see a lot of people on my Facebook timeline watching this fight as well.
You're pulling double duty tonight.
Yeah, I'm just taking the pulse of America.
One moment at a time, right?
One moment at a time.
You know, I mentioned Meraz, and forget about him being durable for a moment, but you talk about that 36-0-2 mark. That's a combined record, by the way, of his last 3 opponents, but he's fought the Luis Rosas, the Daniel Twitch Francos, Gervonta Davis, Rasheen Warren. I mean, you're talking about top-level guys.
Absolutely. I mean, Meraz he's fought all in 97 fights. He's you said a professional opponent, a professional litmus test as well.
Under a minute to go in this round number 1.
I mean, does this guy, he doesn't even look like a guy who's had 97 fights.
He doesn't.
When you think of guys in 97 fights, you think of guys who are like old and grizzled. He looks fresh, just 30 years old.
Good counter up top by De Alba.
Tough way to make a living, fighting 8, 9, 10 times a year.
Absolutely. Just knocked out 8 times in his career. You might say that's a lot, but you're also talking about close to 100 fights. As De Alba tried to sneak in a left jab to close it out. One in the books. De Alba, to me, is a very interesting fighter because he's 29 years of age. We always talk about crossroads. We always talk about a fighter being tested. A lot of people believe, too, kind of now or never for Frank.
Yeah, but he's also going to be one of these guys who, he's fighting on a pretty good platform tonight on this Roy Jones pay-per-view card. Another win, another 2 wins. He's going to be back in a major fight to see if he can get to the next level.
Let's take a look into the corner of Germain Meraz. 12-year pro has dropped 5 of 8. But as we pointed out, will fight anyone, anytime.
Have fight, will travel.
Yes, indeed. I think it shows a lot when you look at the start of Frankie De Alba's career, as I alluded to, 2-1-2, and then he just goes on this ridiculous winning streak. He rips off 15 straight. You mentioned the setback to Douglas. I think he took a lot from that fight because I think there were times in that fight, even middle rounds, where he knew he had an opportunity to beat Omar Douglas.
Absolutely. I mean, he, like I said, I talked to him for about an hour on the phone earlier this week, and I should have won that fight. And I tell you what, you talked about the beginning of his career. He was a draw with Tevin Farmer back in 2011. How good is that?
Now look at Tevin Farmer, right? Who had the coming out party against Julius Kennedy. Yeah, I mean, look at Tevin Farmer. You talk about, the ebb and flow of a career, that long winning streak as well after an inauspicious start. Meraz trying to go to the body a little bit. Early stages, round number 2. Slated for 8.
De Alba had him in a little headlock. Meraz is like, what's going on?
I'm sure he's seen all the tricks.
He's probably been in quite a few headlocks in his day.
Not a lot of knockout power from De Alba, just 9 in his career. Well, but again, solid puncher, and we talk about the level of the opponents as well, but he's a grinder. He'll grind you down.
I think he's a lot more confident puncher. Forget about being even a more confident fighter, but a confident puncher as well. We talked in the first fight about veteran guys getting in it, or Meraz knows all the veteran tactics.
He does. And again, he's just 1 year older than De Alba. Not like De Alba's a 20-year-old prospect who's going to have to learn to deal with some of the, you want to say, the tactics his opponent trying to frustrate him. Under a minute to go in round number 2. Good crowd this evening inside the Chase Center on the waterfront. Downtown Wilmington, Delaware. Almost like a chess match between these two in round number 2.
Good straight left hand by D'Alba. Just flicked it out there, got through the guard of Miraz. And Miraz is telling him to come on.
Good body shot by D'Alba to clean up round number 2.
I just saw Miraz fight his last bout. We'll get into that in round 3.
So 2 in the books between D'Alba and Miraz. Slated for 8. Nice crowd this evening. Championship boxing back in Delaware in the first state. It's been a while. It'll certainly culminate with our 12-round main event for the vacant WBF Cruiserweight title. A lot of fanfare surrounding that bout because, again, you've got the veteran Roy Jones Jr. And people are really interested to see if a bare-knuckle brawler in Bobby Gunn, who's had close to 30 professional fights, can really put Roy Jones Jr. into permanent retirement. So good action in round number 2 as we get set to take a look at some of the action between D'Alba and Miraz.
We start round 3.
D'Alba in the blue and white trunks, Miraz in the red and yellow trunks.
D'Alba, promoted by Marshall Kaufman's Kings Promotions. Marshall's basically taken him from the beginning and helped nurture D'Alba.
Has groomed him from the start. This is a good test because, as we alluded to, you're going against an opponent close to 100 fights, so he's seen everything in the ring.
And he's going to make D'Alba work. Yeah, like I said, I just saw him. He just fought in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, fought a undefeated fighter by the name of Harun Sakaras, who took him the distance. He was 14-0-2. And like you said, 3 straight undefeated opponents from Miraz. Dropped all 3 when he was stopped 2 fights ago.
Also had a fight against Miguel Flores, who's a very good-looking hot prospect, 24-year-old.
Yeah, we'll see
out of
him.
Houston, Texas.
We'll see him in action later this week, taking on Dat Win. Went the distance with Antonio Margarito's brother, Hansel Martinez.
D'Alba trying to press the action here in round number 3.
Juan Dominguez, Gervonta Davis, the newly crowned IBF 130-pound champion. Juan Carlos Payano, who is a world champion. Rashid Warren, who just dropped his world title last week.
Not a bad resume of opponents.
D'Alba now trying to step into some punches.
I mean, this is kind of your classic example of his opponent really not giving him much to work with. So late stages of round number 3, again slated for 8 rounds. I appreciate everyone joining us. Rich Quinion is ringside with my broadcast partner this evening, Mark Abrams.
Terrific turnout here.
Absolutely, terrific turnout.
Say standing room only. I think the standing room only, the whole wall, there's just people lined up. Real nice event here. You know, coming to, a place where boxing isn't always.
No, it's been a while since you and I have done a fight here at the Chase Center. It's been several years, but it's always good to see a crowded venue, crowded arena like this. And I think a lot of the Delaware fans, those that made the trek from Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York as well, they'll be treated to a good card this evening. 3 in the books between De Alba and Germain Miraz. As we alluded to, a lot of anticipation between Roy Jones Jr., Bobby Gunn. The main event this evening, slated for 12, vacant WBF Cruiserweight Championship. And as we have a moment, let's check out our unofficial score this evening. Ciro Papati. Ciro, what do you have?
Well, De Alba really has taken control of the fight. Miraz is trying to get in from time to time, but De Alba is really controlling things as far as I see. And I know you have mentioned Delaware quite often. There are 3 famous names in Delaware. Tiberi, Biden, and there's another one. I know we're going to be going to him soon, but sitting to my left is our great governor, John Carney.
Which we will be joined with him right after round number 4,
well,
so good segue into that.
I actually have a question for Ciro.
Yes.
In a boxing arena,
yes,
Tiberi's or Biden, I think Tiberi's may get the nod, at least in the boxing arena.
Because there's probably about 20 or 30 of them. They're sprinkled about.
I think there's 9 or 10 brothers.
Well, in traditional Delaware style, that would be the Italians against the Irish. I wouldn't want to call that one.
All right, we'll check in a little bit later on with you, Ciro. Thank you very much. Again, as we get set, opening stage is round number 4. Germain Miraz, Frankie Santos de Alba. You agree with that scoring as well?
Absolutely, 3-0. And all Miraz is trying to do now, he's starting to feel the lumber. I think in the corner of the De Alba, they said go get him.
Sure.
So he's going after him.
Pressing the action a lot more. We mentioned too, Frankie Santos de Alba, southpaw, good counter puncher, likes to go to the body a little bit.
And just to harbor on the point Ciro was saying, Miraz is just trying to survive and do his veteran tactics and kind of make De Alba look bad. Now De Alba is going after Miraz a little bit, and his shoe came untied.
But we talked about this. He learned a lot from the Douglas fight. Obviously, Douglas, very good fighter in his own right, more of a pedigree than a veteran in Germain Miraz. So he took a ton of stuff from that fight, knew he had that fight, and certainly doesn't want to leave this fight up in the judges' hands. And you can see he's inserting himself a lot more in this 4th round.
Yeah, there's definitely been a different mentality from Frank De Alba this round. He probably realizes that Miraz can't hurt him. You see, he's just walking in with his gloves to his face. Oh, and then Miraz snuck in a right. That didn't seem to deter De Alba at all, because he just continues to press forward. He's looking for a counter right hook.
Like I said, typically with guys that don't have the knockout power, they're durable, but they'll go the distance. They'll give you 8 to 10 rounds, as opposed to being a brawler going for that knockout shot. De Alba's a sound boxer. I would like to see, though, it would be interesting going forward how active he's going to be with a good left right there. He was active, but how active he's going to be in 2017.
Well, with King's Promotions, they do have a lot of dates sprinkled out, we're a bunch of venues, and I definitely expect to see Frank De Alba in a higher profile fight should, the next couple rounds go the way the first 3 have gone.
Backing up Miraz. Misses with a wild right.
Miraz is coming in this fight. He's fought, count them, 601 professional rounds.
Wow.
This is round 605 now.
We call that being very active. All right, so 4 in the books between De Alba and Miraz as we check in with our roving reporter this evening, Joe McEwen III, with a special guest.
I am here with the governor of Delaware, the Honorable John Carney. This is the first time in the history of Delaware that we've had world title fights here. Governor Carney, what do you think about the action tonight?
The action tonight's great. It's great to be in Wilmington, Delaware. World Championship boxing, a lot of good action. Looking forward to the main event. It was great to see our own Tiberi fighting in the ring a few minutes ago.
All right, great, guys. We're going to kick it back to you, Rich and Mark.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. How about that? A shameless plug by the governor, a little Tiberi plug.
Absolutely. And
Nothing wrong with that, right?
There's the boxing ring and the political ring.
That's right. They're all the same at times as well.
In fact, the political ring could be a lot tougher.
Exactly. As we get set for round number 5, slated for 8, this junior lightweight affair. Frankie De Alba, the 29-year-old from Reading, Pennsylvania, in the blue and white trunks by way of Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Germain Miraz, the durable Mexican, 30 years of age. And, you know, you mentioned in that 3rd and 4th round, we really saw De Alba start to take over the fight. You like to see what his corner again told him. See if he wants to press the action a little more.
You know, so far in the first 20 seconds, he's being a little bit more deliberate with his offense.
Good left.
Nice left there. And Miraz was in retreat mode, and then he's jumps in and very awkward.
Yeah, we're trying to set up that right jab.
And you already have a southpaw against an orthodox fighter, so the headbutts could be a factor.
Absolutely.
And now you have a guy jumping in erratically, and that's one way to keep him from jumping in.
He's peppered in with that straight left.
Good body shot.
I thought Joe brought up a really good point, too, when he was talking to Governor John Carney. Championship boxing, right, in Delaware. I mean, that is a rarity, and hopefully you like to think perhaps this venue going forward will also house some other boxing.
Well, this place is packed tonight. We've said it a couple times. And you know you can pack a venue if you bring the right entertainment. And tonight was proven a success.
$1:15 to go in round number 5, slated for 8. Counter left by Miraz, glancing blow.
Miraz doesn't have much behind his punches. A lot of arm punches, a lot of flailing in there.
Which again, on paper, when you see the 32 career knockouts, you think to yourself,
yeah, well,
right?
97 fights.
Exactly, not a bad knockout ratio.
Good body
shot by Frank De Alba. Body shot again, doubled up, came back upstairs, did Frank De Alba. Under 30 to go in this 5th round. And again, Mark, you mentioned throughout the telecast, everyone can get social with us on Facebook, on Twitter as well.
You know, Miraz has put some offense.
5 in the books.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is brought to you by David Feldman Promotions in association with King's Promotions and Nelson's Promotions.
So we're also going to see what I think is a potential rising star a little later on in Kanat Islam. You know, you talk about hot prospects. It's hard to call him a prospect because we've seen some great fights from him. We see an undefeated record. We also see some knockout power as well. But this is a fighter you and I were talking about pre-production meetings last week as well. He's one to watch.
Absolutely. Islam is a terrific prospect, and we're going to see him next.
And we'll see him momentarily.
Round number 6, right now.
So 6th round between De Alba and Miraz. So 6th and final round.
There's De Alba with a nice straight left.
So when we spoke to Ciro before, he had De Alba ahead, looking good. What have you seen in the last couple of rounds?
Well, he's kind of settled down. Miraz is getting a little bit more brave now. He's coming forward, trying to make it a roughhouse fight. Maybe try to get knockout number 33, but I don't think he has the power to do it. De Alba's the bigger guy, stronger puncher. He's controlled the action. He's pretty much won every round.
Good body shots by Frank De Alba. Again, working the body, trying to build up a little more equity in this sixth and final round. Thinking about that right uppercut. Backed off a little bit.
Ooh, good right to the body from Miraz.
De Alba again, crisp with that jab, even though he ate one, connected with that left. He's a fighter. He has no problem. He'll give and he'll take.
Good right to the body.
Under a minute to go in this final round.
And Miraz is jumping in. He's landing a few punches now.
Yeah, working the body a little bit. Perhaps a little too late. Left again by De Alba. Well, the 29-year-old certainly got some rounds in this evening. It's a good fight for him. I'm going to tell you why. Because he's going against an opponent who's had close to 100 fights, who's seen everything inside the ring, anything you can imagine inside the ring. So it's about keeping your wits, not getting frustrated or rattled, and just flat out going out there and boxing.
And De Alba is not going to get out of here unscathed.
Well, that's true.
Because I believe he's got a nice little cut now on his left eye. Why? Because of a headbutt. Miraz jumping in. Could have predicted that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the one thing I think I could have predicted in this fight. I didn't know about the cut, but definitely a clash of heads. Luckily for De Alba, it's the end of the sixth round, and he's ahead comfortably on the scorecards. Miraz is trying to make it a little interesting, though.
Absolutely.
And there we go.
Perhaps it would have been worth watching if this was a 10-round affair, but nonetheless, that was a sixth and final round. We believe Frankie De Alba will walk away with a win. Although it's always interesting with the scoring, is it not?
Well, you never know. You never know. Maybe they thought Miraz snuck a few rounds in there. I don't see it. I see 5-1 at worst for De Alba.
All right, let's go back to our unofficial scorer. Ciro, what do you have?
Yeah, De Alba won every round. I don't think there's any doubt to that. But Miraz, what a gamer. Wasn't going to give up. Gave the crowd a great show. But De Alba certainly took the fight.
And made the long trek from Mexico, as we alluded to, came into this one 55-41-1. So a ton of ring time for a 30-year-old. 97 fights in 12 years, as opposed to De Alba, the 29-year-old. Looking at look at some of the action in the fight we'll get to momentarily. And again, we saw the ebb and flow of this one. De Alba picked and chose his moments a little bit as we take a look at some of the action, Mark.
Good uppercut from De Alba, good straight left, another straight left. That was the theme, and the other theme was the jumping in from Miraz. You see him just coming in recklessly, and of course the headbutt had to happen, and it did.
It did.
And unfortunately happened with about 20 seconds to go in the fight. We take a look at this terrific crowd here.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable crowd this evening. David Feldman Promotions, King's Promotions, Nelson Promotions, Casino Delaware Park. Great venue, great shot. A lot of anticipation, too, with our co-main event coming up, and then we'll cap off the night with our main event, as we've been talking about WBF Vacant Cruiserweight Championship, slated for 12. Bare knuckler Bobby Gunn taking on the veteran, the legend, and Roy Jones Jr. I made it up this evening, Roy Jones Jr. We like to ad-lib once in a while. All right, so as we make this one official, we'll go back inside the ring. Get the verdict on this one between De Alba and Moroz. For that, Mark Fratto.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 exciting rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. All 3 judges, Brian Costello, Mark DiTilio, and Dorothea Perry, saw the bout 60-54. Your winner by unanimous decision from Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Coamo, Puerto Rico, Frank Santos de Alba.
So Frankie De Alba, unanimous decision, 60-54. Easy scoring on that one. Good job for him. He'll improve to 21-2-2 for the 29-year-old out of Reading, Pennsylvania for A-Game Gramaz Moroz, 55-42-1.
And he's on another winning streak.
He is.
4 in a row.
He is 4 in a row after having that loss, that tough loss to Omar Douglas. But again, you saw some good things from Frankie De Alba this evening. And again, he started his career in auspicious start, reeled off a long winning streak of 15 now. He's back to his winning ways as he's won his 4th straight.
19 of his last 20.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And like I said, you know, he's at that age, too, where we're hoping to see some of the activity in 2017 present itself for De Alba. As we take a look at some of the action, Mark, and again, it's that southpaw, it's that counterpuncher in De Alba doing a lot of damage tonight.
Yeah, he landed the more clean and crisp punches. Moroz, like the veteran he is, he tried to make it look ugly at times. He got the, you know, unfortunately for De Alba, the headbutt, maybe he's going to have to be stitched up. But you know, you see Frankie De Alba, 19th win in his last 20 outings. Like you said, Nick, 21-2-2, and look for him in a significant fight soon.
4 in a row for the Reading, Pennsylvania native. Good crowd, as we alluded to this evening. Let's go back inside the ring to Mark Fratto.
As you know, through pay-per-view television, we're available across the country and in 5 nations around the world. Before we get to the co-featured event of the evening, please welcome to the ring an internationally known actress and recording artist all the way from Kazakhstan. She's going to perform an original song here at the Chase Center on the riverfront. Please welcome Janar Dugalova. Ladies and gentlemen, from Kazakhstan, GUNN Udalova. 1.1 million followers on Instagram, and she earns some more fans tonight here in Delaware and around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Delaware, are you ready for the co-featured bout of the evening? Introducing first, please welcome as he makes his way to the ring from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil, Robson Assis.
All right, as we get set for our co-main event, should be a good one. Robson Assis from Sao Paulo, Brazil. 38-year-old, 16-3 with 9 knockouts, looking to spoil the party this evening against a very good-looking boxer in Khanat Islam. And we talked about this from the start. You know, you have an opportunity to spoil the party. You've got a game fighter. You've got a fighter who's only suffered 3 losses in his career, albeit by knockout. But you can see a little loose, a little juiced up, ready to go.
Yeah, Assis, the guy comes in from Brazil. He's 16-3 with 9 knockouts. Couple telling stats here is going to be the age at 38, and he's been stopped in all 3 of his losses. We've got Islam, who's a knockout artist. He's got 18 knockouts and 22 wins. He's a real tough kid. He's beat some good fighters as well. So that's going to be in my mind, could be the telling stat. But Assis is having fun walking the ring here, so maybe he's more confident or knows something that we don't.
Certainly looks loose, former WBO Latino champ. Suffered a 6-round TKO loss to Samuel Vargas back in 2015 for the then interim WBA NABA welterweight title. You mentioned his opponent, who we'll see momentarily, though. You want to talk about one of those rising faces in boxing, and we'll look at him momentarily in Khanat Islam. You know, when you have an opportunity to fight on a card like this,
ladies and gentlemen, please welcome his opponent,
on an undercard like this,
from Kazakhstan,
you want to put on a show.
Absolutely.
The Kazakh Islam.
He might be the best fighter on this card tonight. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and now this could be his first or second. I know he's fought on a couple other televised cards here in the States, exposure to United States fans. So with the worldwide audience that's tuning in tonight, he has a chance to really make a name for himself and become a real player in the 154-pound division.
Ridiculous knockout power, 18 knockouts in 22 professional fights. Mentioned as a possible opponent, we talked a little bit about this as well before for Canelo Alvarez. So, I mean, what does that tell you about him?
And he's not the last guy beat Patrick Alate, 34-2. So he's not afraid to step it up. Juan D'Angelo, 18-3-1. So he's beat some guys with some good records. And he's going to start to get more exposure here in the United States. He's fought on some nationally televised cards over the Air Network. And tonight he's going to apply his trade on pay-per-view.
It'll be slated for 10 rounds. Middleweights, Khanat Islam. A lot of boxing insiders do believe he is a budding superstar. And here's an opportunity again, pay-per-view, huge audience, huge crowd on the undercard of a Roy Jones Jr. fight. What better way to really make your presence felt with a great showing?
Absolutely, and you can see all the regional titles that Islam has won. He's the WBO Intercontinental Super Welterweight Champion, WBA Fed Latin Super Welterweight Champion. You know, we talk about those titles, but those titles get you rankings, and you continue to fight and win. It's, you know, playing the ranking game. You continue to defend these regional titles, and you move up the rankings, and that's how you get in line to face a Canelo Alvarez or someone of that nature.
All right, for the official introductions of our co-main event, back inside the ring to Mark Frado. Again, it'll be Islam against Assis, slated for 10. Mark mentioned the regional belts as well, 22-0, 18 knockouts. They all help those regional belts, whether it's NABO, NABF, NABA. They all have an affiliation to the big boys, as we like to call them. And a win tonight, he would not only move to 23-0, but again, an opportunity to do it on a Roy Jones Jr. undercard. All right, now we're set to go for the introductions. Inside the ring to Mark Fratto.
Ladies and gentlemen, the action continues here at Chase Center on the riverfront in Wilmington, Delaware. This is your co-featured bout of the evening. Scheduled for 10 rounds in the junior middleweight division and brought to you by David Feldman Promotions in association with Nelson's Promotions. This bout is presented by the Casino at Delaware Park. The judges will be Brian Costello, Mark Datilio, and Dorothea Perry. And controlling the action at the sound of the bell, the referee in charge is Vic Diwasaki. Introducing first, boxing out of the red corner, he weighed in at 154.6 pounds. With a professional record of 16-3, 9 victories coming by way of knockout. Wearing blue this evening from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil, now Sao Paulo, Brazil, Robson Assis. And his opponent across the ring, he weighed in at 154.2 pounds. His impressive undefeated professional record, 22 bouts, 22 victories. 18 coming by way of knockout. Wearing blue and white from Kazakhstan. Now living, training, and fighting out of Pahokee, Florida. He's the reigning WBA Fede Latin and WBO Intercontinental Super Welterweight Champion. Currently ranked number 4 by the WBA, number 5 by the WBO, and number 15 by the IBF. Please welcome Kanat, the Kazakh Islam.
Boxers, you begin your instructions in the dressing room. I expect a good, clean bout. Obey my commands at all times. And protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves, come out the belt.
All right, slated for 10 rounds as we take a look at the tail of the tape.
You see the weight and the height pretty much even, but the 38 years old of Robson Assis, that kind of sticks out a little bit, Rich.
It does. 19 professional fights, so not a lot of wear and tear. Perhaps a little bit of a tread left. And again, this one slated for 10 rounds. Mark, let's take a look at the rules as well.
Obviously, scoring on the 10-point must system. The 3 knockdown rule has been waived except for the title fight, which would be our last fight. No standing out count and cannot be saved in the bell in any round, Rich.
All right, so we are set to go with our co-main event. Slated for 10 rounds between Kanat Islam and Robson Assis. A lot of people very high on Islam, 22-0. Serious knockout power, 18 knockouts in his career, and we'll see what he can do this evening. White trunks against Assis. In the blue trunks. Starts off with a bang with a right. Ooh, another shot with a right. Going downstairs again early on. Trying to score his 19th knockout in round number 1.
Rich, this has a makings of a don't go to the refrigerator fight.
Islam, the 32-year-old, looks like already, I'm not sure it was an accidental headbutt.
Oh, that's
nasty right gap. Well, that cut's not as bad because it's above the brow. We'll see if we can get a closer look, but not even a minute in, Mark.
Let's see if the blood is squirting down into the eye, which would be a problem.
Yep, obstructive view. Oh, that is a nasty cut. 10-round affair, too, so certainly early on. See how it plays out.
See if he steps on the gas pedal even more.
Exactly.
Tried to load up on that right hand.
Conversely, to see if Islam gets fired up, seeing his own blood. Body shot scored.
Yeah, his face is a bloody mess. He's going to try to get this done before, you know, too long, because I don't know how long that this fight's going to go on for with that cut.
Good right.
Granted, they'll have some time if it gets to the
Good right again. I'm sorry, Mark. Excuse me. Another right. Another right. Islam trying to end this one in round number 1. Straight right buckled Assis.
That's what you got to do against a southpaw, right down the middle. Oh!
Oh, goodness, another right hand.
Oh, Islam sees 3 of Assis because of his eye. He's definitely hitting the one in the middle.
Blood trickling down that right eye. Unfeathered by it. Just teeing off on Robeson Assis. Ooh, straight right. Another right. Pushes him back up against the ropes momentarily.
That cut is nasty. It's a deep cut from what it looks like over here.
Under a minute to go. Round number 1 again. Stings him. And then Islam trying to end this one in round number 1. I mean, he certainly has Assis in trouble. And you're right, if they can just clean up that cut, perhaps he gets him out of here in round number 2. But right now, wobbly legs, ropes it. Oh! Oh my goodness mercy! Might be quick work for Kanat Islam. That's it! Make it victim number 23 and 19 knockouts for the 32-year-old. Suffered a cut 30 seconds in, as you alluded to. Figured he had to get out of here early, and that's exactly what he did. Oh my goodness mercy, Kanat Islam. That's impressive, Mark.
That was a tremendous right hand that lowered the boom on Robeson Assis, and to do it, I mean,
it was a build-up. It was a build-up.
Yeah,
we saw it.
Islam doesn't know how bad that cut is. That cut is very, very deep. As Nelson Lopez finally gets something on it to help wipe the blood away.
If anything, his own blood incited him. He pressed the action, just started to tee off with those rights. Great shot by our crew. You can see them really trying to apply pressure on that cut. And you really wonder, too. It happened in round number 1 so early in a fight. That's the worst case scenario for him.
Obviously, he has power. I mean, this kid definitely has power. I want to see him fight one of the big guys at 154 pounds. He's ranked in the WBO 4, I believe, number 5 by the WBA. So he will definitely get in some kind of an elimination fight in the next fight or 2.
You have to start to take stock and notice of Kanat Islam. And when you think about it too, Mark, maybe a different fighter gets a little rattled, maybe gets a little discouraged early on after suffering that cut, but not for the 32-year-old. He'll improve to 23-0 as we await the official verdict on this one. But my goodness, those right hands were just shot out of a cannon.
Terrific knockout, like you said, 23-0 with 19 knockouts, and I think we're about to see this exciting work here in round 1.
Yeah, it didn't last very long in round number 1, but we see it right here.
See Islam landing the big right hands. You see the blood streaming down his face, and the knockout blow is going to come up very shortly.
And Assis is already on wobbly legs.
That was a perfect right down the pike.
Yep.
Right on the. He smashed his nose basically through his face almost.
Textbook right down the boulevard. Assis very loose walking into the ring, walking out on wobbly legs. Kanat Islam improving to 23-0, and we'll still hold it here momentarily. It's a huge win for the young man. That's called taking care of business. You mentioned, too, bright future, perhaps some big money fights down the road. All right, let's make it official. We'll go back inside the ring to our ring announcer, Mark Fratto.
Ladies and gentlemen, your official time, 2 minutes, 12 seconds in round number 1. Your winner by knockout and still undefeated from Kazakhstan, Kanat the Kazakh Islam.
I'm here with our winner, Kanat the Kazakh Islam. You lived up to that nickname because you Kazakhed him out. What did you feel when he headbutted you and opened that Colorado River above your eye?
Yeah, I first thank you, my coach, my country. My 2 days from Kazakhstan, 23 fight. For me sponsor, my brother, Baojan Osman, come to see me fight. I very thank you, my brother. Thank you, my country, Kazakh people. I love you. This is a boxing, man. I training very hard. This is this fight. Give me Canelo, give me Cotto. I want you big fight, you know. I no care. I die this ring. I fight.
What do you want to say to your legion of fans back in Kazakhstan?
What is that?
What would you like to say to your legion of fans worldwide?
Yeah, very happy. I am coming now, number 4 WBA, number 5 WBO. This is my time is coming, man. This is I know young. I am 2-time Olympic. I training hard every day, no stop, man. I am coming, man. I tell my language on Kazakhstan. Құрметті қазақстандықтар, менің жанкүйерлерім, барлықтарыңызға көп рахмет. Менің бүкіл екі арнада мені көрсетіп жатыр. Алғысым шексіз. Алда үлкен жеңістер болады. Соған қазақтың көк туын әлі де көтеремін деп ойлаймын. Елбасымызға рахмет. Астанада экспода жекпе-жекке шақырып жатыр. Осы жолы Бауыржан ағам кеп маған сол сәлемді жеткізді. Өте қуаныштамын. Thank you, man.
You're welcome. Let's talk to Mr. Nelson Sr. here. What a great comeback after a devastating headbutt that opened a gash above your fighter's eye. He showed great courage and heart by finishing him out in the first round. What do you got to think about this fight?
I think this was a great fight. Kanat knew that he needed to take this guy out as soon as possible. He had such a big gap already in his eye. He knew he was going to be stopped. I told him, go. And the coach was telling him that he had to go. But now Kanat has a dream. And this dream belongs to Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan wants the new world champion. So who is the next guy?
That's what I was going to ask you. Who is the next guy? What is next for this superior fighter?
Well, we're ready for anyone. The thing is, they're not stepping up and they're not talking about Kanat. Kanat is the next world champion, and we're coming from number 4, number 3. We're coming up. Watch out, Canelo, we're coming. And I know Mayweather don't want none of this.
Would you take Mayweather if he asked to come out of retirement to fight this man?
Mayweather would never come out of retirement to get some of this. He don't want Kanat.
I've always heard you don't never say never.
Well, if it's never, and if I say never, let's make it happen. Let's go.
Great job tonight. Thank you. Congratulations. Back to you, Rich and Mark.
All right, Joe. Thank you very much. Well, if you wanted something to trend on social media, maybe you get it with those comments as well. But look, all seriousness aside, he's calling out Canelo. He had a brilliant performance. And again, get social with us on Twitter, Facebook, #SkillVsWill. And Mark, just an explosive knockout.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to talk about what Nelson Lopez Sr. said, he's a promoter. So he's trying to get some notoriety out for his fighter. His fighter just scored an exciting knockout. And something like that, something like that will get you known. So good job by Kanata Islam. Nelson Lopez doing what he needs to do, calling out the big names, Canelo, Mayweather, and we'll see some of the action here.
He dealt with adversity early on, and then we just saw those straight rights doing some serious damage, Mark.
Yeah, and there's the right hands, and again, we're going to see in a minute. Look how bad that cut is. The right, he couldn't miss with that right hand, even how much the blood was streaming down, and bang, there's the right hand straight down the middle.
Yep.
And down goes Assis.
So Kanat Islam improves to 23-0 as we are moments away from our main event, which has really been talked about for a while now because it's very intriguing when you've got arguably, one of the greatest fighters of our era in Roy Jones Jr. getting ready to take on Bobby Gunn, who's a legend on the bare-knuckle boxing circuits. That's slated for 12 rounds. What's at stake? The WBF Cruiserweight Championship. And really the question is, how much gas is left in the tank for Roy Jones Jr.? He's 48 years old. A lot of people thought several years ago that he would retire. And we know this. When you are a fighter, the toughest thing to do is to win that battle within. And it's very hard to step away from the game.
Well, as we know, and it was, Father Time beats everybody.
He's undefeated. He is.
Yeah, and people can say he's already beat Roy Jones. And why is Roy Jones continuing to fight? Because he's a competitor. He was the best fighter in the world. A lot of people say the best pure athlete to ever put boxing gloves on. And when you are at that level and you're on that pedestal for so long, it's tough to sometimes let it go. And Roy, to his credit and to his detriment, is such a competitor that he can't let it go.
And that's the thing. You will get the criticisms out there, and to some extent, you could make the argument it is warranted because, again, you look at the last several years, and it's not about losing fights, but I think it's really the defeats against lower-tier fighters and the fashion in which they occurred.
Yeah, that's the thing. Guys lose fights, but the brutal knockouts, the
Danny Green as well.
Knockouts right by Macronelli and so forth, Lebedev, they were just scary knockouts.
All right, let's go back. We'll check in again with our roving reporter with another special guest. For that, we'll go back to Joe McEwen III. What's up, Joe?
I'm here with two-time heavyweight world champion, terrible Tim Witherspoon, who in 1983, he was one punch away from knocking out a prime Larry Holmes. Tim, what'd you think about that fight?
Well, the fight was really good. It was really exciting. There was a headbutt. I do believe that if they didn't get a headbutt, or the fight would have went on, it would have ultimately ended with a knockout because that kid from Kazakhstan is bad.
He's the real deal. I interviewed him the other day, and he speaks 4 languages. Very smart guy. Have you ever been headbutt like that?
Yeah, I was headbutting, but I got a big head, and I don't cut that easy. It hurts.
Hey, thanks for your comments. We're gonna kick it back to you, Rich and Mark.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. And, of course, two-time world heavyweight champ, won the WBC title back in '84, WBA title in 1986. Only 9 amateur bouts in his career, and I think he fought Marvis Frazier.
Not only did he have a big head, he had one of the most booming overhand rights that any fighter ever had.
Regular sparring partner for Muhammad Ali, so good to catch up with Tim. All right, so we are almost ready for our main event to cap off great night of boxing, and again, wonderful card put on by David Feldman Promotions. And you know what? We are ready to cap off great night of boxing with the official introductions for our main event. Back inside the ring to Mark Frado.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the main event of the evening. This one is for the WBF Cruiserweight Championship of the World. Making his way to the ring first, please welcome the future Hall of Famer, 10-time world title holder from Pensacola, Florida, Roy Jones Jr.
This is a treat for the fans of Delaware to have an opportunity to look at perhaps one of the best boxers of his era, especially throughout the 90s and the early 2000s in Roy Jones Jr. But the question is, when is Father Time going to catch up with him?
Well, it already has to an extent, but not to the extent that's going to put Roy Jones down for the count permanently. But tonight, could that happen? Or could this fight facilitate bigger fights for Roy Jones Jr.?
Listen, you spoke to him. I mean, he is of the belief that he wants to contend for a Cruiserweight Championship. He's captured world titles in 4 different weight classes. But you're right, I think it is some of the losses that we've seen him suffer throughout his career, and really the Danny Green one comes to mind too.
Absolutely.
A lot of people thought, what, about a decade ago that was going to be it for Roy Jones Jr.?
Yeah, that was on the morning night that Bernard Hopkins fought
right.
Enrique Nellis. They later did fight that fight.
Listen, regardless of what happens, the legacy's intact. He's come into this win having won 10 out of his last 11. But we did mention that brutal KO loss to Danny Green for the IBO Cruiserweight title. Also had the loss to Bernard Hopkins as well. So, but again, as we take a look at Roy Jones Jr., as we await his opponent, Bobby Gunn, for that, we go back to Mark Prado.
And his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, the undefeated bare knuckle heavyweight world title holder and the former Cruiserweight champion of the world from Niagara Falls, Canada, Bobby, the Celtic Warrior, Gunn.
As we take a look at Bobby Gunn, the 43-year-old, the Celtic Warrior. Great pedigree when it comes to bare knuckle boxing.
At 43, he's the youngster in this fight.
That's true. Well said, exactly. 21, 6-1. 3 years outside the ring, but was able to maintain some activity, as we talked about during the opening monologue, getting his hands in bare knuckle boxing, which that is his trademark. That's his pedigree. 73-0 in his career with 73 knockouts.
And this is a fight he's coveted for a long time, 10 years.
I think a lot of people will look at this in 2 different fashions, and we'll talk about it as the bout progresses, but perhaps that crossover now with more bare knuckle boxers making their way into the ring as well.
And we'll get into some of the style and some of the X's and O's of this fight as the fight progresses.
Slated for 12 rounds, WBF Cruiserweight Championship. Roy Jones Jr. against Bobby Gunn. And we'll go back inside the ring to Mark Prado for the official introductions of this championship affair to cap off a great night of boxing.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we ask everyone to please rise and remove your caps. Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, boxing here in the Mid-Atlantic lost one of its true heroes this week. His impact and influence felt not only right here in the Philadelphia and Delaware areas, but all across the country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please join us as we observe 10 bells for the great Marty Feldman. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please continue to rise as we honor America with the singing of our national anthem. Tonight's Star Spangled Banner will be performed by 80-year-old bare knuckle boxing Hall of Famer Joining us here in the center of the ring, Ted Daly.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the peerless fight all the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the Thank you. Hello to my beautiful family back home.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Hall of Famer, Ted Daly.
All right, so we are moments away with the official introductions. With that, again, Mark Fratto.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chase Center on the riverfront here in Wilmington, Delaware. This is your main event of the evening. It's scheduled for 12 rounds and will be contested for the WBF Cruiserweight Championship of the World. It's brought to you by David Feldman Promotions, King's Promotions, and Nelson's Promotions, and presented by the Casino at Delaware Park. The main event is sanctioned by the World Boxing Foundation. Joining us tonight is WBF North American Vice President James Gibbs. The bout is also sanctioned by the Delaware Department of Licensing with the Virginia Athletic Advisory Board. Once again, the executive director is David L. Holland. The program administrator is Tracy Fagan. The judges here in this championship bout are Brian Costello and Mark DiTilio, including Dorothea Perry. And controlling the action at the sound of the bell, your referee in charge is Bill Clancy. And now, once again live from Wilmington, Delaware, across the country and the globe on pay-per-view, 12 rounds for the WBF Championship of the World. Ladies and gentlemen, it's go time! Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at 199 pounds even. He owns an impressive professional record, 64 victories, only 9 defeats, 46 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Wearing red trimmed with white, he is a 10-time world title holder. He is the former middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight champion of the world from Pensacola, Florida, Roy Jones Jr. And his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of the blue corner. He weighed in at 197.4 pounds. His professional gloved boxing record, 21-6-1, 18 big victories coming by way of knockout. wearing tiger stripes this evening. He's the undefeated bare-knuckle heavyweight champion of the world and the former IBA cruiserweight champion of the world. From Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, Bobby, the Celtic Warrior, GUNN!
All right, so we are moments away from this 12-round championship affair.
All right, gentlemen, we've already gone through the rules in the back. We're scheduled for 12 rounds for the WBF Cruiserweight Championship of the World. I expect a good, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times, and gentlemen, you must obey my commands. Bobby, your trunks are fine. Roy, I want your punches above the line. You're looking good right now. It may ride. Game time call. Touch them up. Good luck and God bless.
Bill Clancy, the referee in charge of the championship affair this evening, slated for 12, giving Roy Jones Jr. and Bobby Gunn last moment instructions as well. And Mark, to tail the tape.
Roy Jones, obviously 48 years old, 5 years older than the 43-year-old Bobby Gunn. Heights even, both checked in underneath the cruiserweight limit, Rich.
Two veterans in the ring, and of course the rules for this championship bout.
Scoring on the 10-point must system. The 3 knockdown rules is waived for the title fights. No standing 8 counts. Cannot be saved by the bell in any round.
All right, and we are set to go. This is billed up as skill versus will between Bobby Gunn, the camouflage trunks, and Roy Jones Jr. in the red trunks.
See, Gunn should come out and try to press Roy early. Try to check that chin early. If he lets Roy settle into a box match, you see, the one thing about Roy, even though he is 48 years old, he still has some quicks. He still has some athletic ability. The big thing on him, especially later in his career, has been the punch resistance.
It'll be interesting to see if this round goes into the late rounds, the championship rounds. And again, you're talking about the pedigree of a Roy Jones Jr., and not to take anything away from Bobby Gunn. He's had close to 30 pro fights as well, but again, it's, you know, when the lights shine the brightest, if you will, aside from the record, which is brilliant in bare-knuckle boxing at 73-0, it's a different animal, and you're still going against an all-time great, Roy Jones Jr.
And every time he stepped up, Mac Ranelli, Adamick, Glenn Johnson, James Toney. Johnson, Toney were very advanced in their age, much like Jones was, and he came up a little short on those. Actually, the Toney fight, he was stopped in 5 rounds.
Yeah, Adamick fight back in 2009, fourth round.
This is what Gunn has to do. He has to kind of make this a dogfight.
Well, listen, Roy Jones Jr. said, I can certainly box circles around him, but I also want to give the fans something to cheer about. And they want to get their entertained and their money's worth, and that's all well and good. That being said, he's also got to respect the fact that Bobby Gunn does have some knockout power. And you mentioned, too, you're not talking about 20-year-olds anymore. You're talking about a 43-year-old in Gunn and a 48-year-old in Roy Jones Jr.
Even though it's not pretty to look at, that's what Gunn has to do. You've got to get through with one of those punches and maybe try to rattle Jones.
Absolutely. And even when you look at Roy Jones Jr. throughout his career, you know, even early on, was able to take some shots, but then as those losses started to mount up, it was those devastating knockouts. Those knockouts that you don't forget, they have a lasting effect on you.
Absolutely. He was brilliant early in his career. Very smart in the ring. Obviously, you can hear it in his commentary that he does on HBO.
Certainly, he will roller skate into the International Boxing Hall of Fame when it's all said and done, but you just wonder how much longer does he want to fight. I mean, Gunn has an opportunity to end the fight with a knockout and perhaps send Roy Jones Jr. in retirement, but it's always tough. In this game of boxing, you're always battling within. Do I have one more fight left?
Gunn gets in a little jab to the body.
Lazy jab there. Closing in on one of the books.
A lot of posturing and posing here in round 1, Rich.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand on.
So one of the books, you know, you mentioned Bobby Gunn, and he's interesting too because we talked about the inactivity, 3 years away from professional boxing, but he kept himself active on the bare knuckle boxing circuit. And you got to go back. I mean, he was the first U.S. champ in bare knuckle boxing in close to 120 years. I mean, you're talking about, for those out there not familiar with the sport, he's made his bones. When you talk about boxing, you talk about Roy Jones Jr., you mentioned bare knuckle boxing, it's Bobby Gunn.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if you could compare the bare knuckle circuit even to a guy like Roy Jones.
No, absolutely not. Nor am I suggesting that. No, not at all.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general, even at 48 years old, he still provides some quicks, the foot movement, the smarts. That when you're fighting bare knuckle guys,
you're just trying to catch them with one shot. Absolutely.
And those guys, for the most part, aren't the most technically sound guys in the world either.
You're right. Get set for round number 2 between Gunn and Jones.
See, Roy Jones back in his heyday would see the shots. He would have seen 2 or 3 shots by now, even though the round's 15 seconds old.
And you know, I do believe that Gunn has to force, and it sounds goofy to say, it's not like he's going to take Roy Jones Jr. out of his comfort zone, but you have to be the aggressor. You have to force the issue a little bit, and maybe he's hoping to connect once with that right. That right we've seen distinguish 18 opponents via knockout.
See, Roy could just do this all night, move his legs, stick jabs in Gunn's face, and there's nothing really Bobby Gunn can do about it. Especially if Bobby Gunn is not going to throw any punches. I mean, Roy's sitting on the ropes. So now Jones has him on the feint. So once you set a guy up on a feint, you can open up a lot of doors for Roy Jones.
This might be the theme for the first couple rounds. Roy Jones Jr., 64-9 in his career, 46 knockouts. And arguably one of the greatest fighters we've seen, and he's ruled the decade of the 90s and the early 2000s. It is tough to watch at times when you see a brilliant fighter like Roy Jones Jr. continue to fight, albeit he has won 10 out of his last 11.
There's a left by Gunn. Jones is looking into the crowd like that didn't do anything. I think Jones is going to try to set him up for a right hand.
Lazy straight right by Roy.
He has Gunn.
Double up. Yep.
Yeah, he's got Gunn going for those feints. He's feinting left hooks.
Snaps that left in there. Number 40 to go. Late in round number 2, slated for 12.
There's a left hook by
Lunged
Jones.
in, yep, absolutely.
And Bobby's saying something to Roy. These guys have known each other a long time.
Well, this fight was supposed to occur several years ago, several times.
Yeah, but they know each other. I've talked to Bobby. I know Bobby pretty well over the last few years. They know each other. Roy admits that. So they're I don't know if you call them friends, but they're friendly.
5 seconds.
There's a good right by Jones.
Well, I mean, really think about this. There's 2 sides to this coin, correct? Bobby Gunn, bare knuckle boxing champ, 21-6-1 in his pro boxing career. He's got an opportunity to perhaps send a legendary fighter in Roy Jones Jr. into retirement.
And you know what? A guy like Bobby Gunn, 20 years from now, the name is still Roy Jones. You have Roy Jones on your record in the win column, it's still Roy Jones.
Absolutely. My point exactly. And then conversely, you have Roy Jones Jr., and you can't really say he wants to turn back the clock and father time, but still believes he can still fight.
Because Roy Jones is going in the Hall of Fame, and Bobby could say, you know what? I fought James Toney, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I fought Adamick. Maybe he gets in, maybe he doesn't. And I fought Roy Jones, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. If he can say in his record, as advanced, we'll say, Roy Jones is in his age, he
You can't really put an asterisk next to it. It's there.
This is why I really wish Bobby early in the fight would have tried, the first couple rounds, try to make Roy more uncomfortable. Sell out. I mean, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. I talked to Bobby a little bit, and guy in the world, he asked me what I think. I just said to him, you know what, if you want to win this fight, don't be afraid to be great.
No, you're right.
And he hasn't done that yet in the first 2 rounds.
Early stages, round number 3, and you're right, you have to take some chances because Roy Jones Jr. is certainly susceptible. You go back to that Macaronelli fight, I mean, floored him with that right uppercut, then started to just pummel him, then connected with that powerful right and just knocked him out cold. I mean, if there's anything, if he gives you a little bit of an inch, Bobby Gunn's got to be, he's got to be on standby. He's got to understand that and take advantage of it. Seize that moment. Round number 3 slated for 12. Roy Jones Jr. red trunks, Bobby Gunn camouflage trunks. Rich Quinones ringside with my broadcast partner this evening, Mark Abrams, pay-per-view. Great card put on by David Feldman Promotion, so we appreciate everyone tuning us in worldwide.
Gunn, has a little opportunity. He's inched his way into the corner, has Jones backed up by the turnbuckles, and he can't do anything.
Midway through round number 3.
Good jab from Jones.
Yep. Stuck it in there. Stuck in another one. A sneaky left. Oh, he's just pecking away right now.
Just missed with that left hook, good Gunn.
And that's the first time we've seen Bobby Gunn really try to be aggressive, insert himself. And you're right. If anything, it makes Roy Jones Jr. think a little bit. I talked about this. I mean, they're dubbing it skill versus will. Thus far, it's a chess match.
Well, the skill is playing out. Bobby needs to show more will. He needs to take more chances because Roy will just pick him apart all night just like that. I do think, though, Roy is going to come with a right hand behind one of these jabs.
So again, Bobby Gunn
no head movement from Gunn.
Stationary. Really trying to go for that one shot. Closing in on 3 in the books.
Good shot by Roy.
And they'll touch gloves at the end of round number 3. Can we still call it a feeling out process 3 rounds in?
Yeah, Roy's starting to settle into a groove now. And maybe rounds 4, 5, and 6, he maybe presses on the gas pedal a little bit harder now.
It is amazing to think what he's meant to the sport of boxing throughout his long and distinguished career, capturing world titles in 4 different weight classes. I mean, it really is. It's a testament to the hard work and the time that he's put in. As we take a look at the corner of Bobby Gunn, really interesting to see what his corner is telling him. Because as you alluded to, that moment where he was a little more aggressive, he was able to catch Roy.
You see the trainer Ozzy Duran, who is a very competent junior middleweight fighter. Real tough guy.
Bobby Gunn, 73 fights, 73 bare-knuckle fights. Fractured his right hand numerous times. Left, his nose has no cartilage in it. I mean, that's a tough guy. Jones snaps off that left.
Lead left hook from Roy. Scrapes off the top of the head. Maybe that's what he's going to feature this round. You've seen the jabs, you've seen the hooks of the body.
After round 1, making some subtle adjustments. Again, we saw too in the late stages, round number 3. He was just sticking that left, going to the body a little bit.
That was a quick rape by Roy.
Gunn trying to walk him down. there's got to be a sense. There's got to be a sense of frustration if you're Bobby Gunn, because you want to be able to get inside a little bit. You want to be able to press the action, and it's hard to hit something that's moving.
Yeah, and that's why Bobby's got to get in, work the body, try to slow. He's a 48-year-old man. It won't take as much to slow him down as it was when he was 28. He's 30 pounds heavier. When he ruled at 68, 75.
Yep. Well documented. Decade of the 90s, early 2000s, tries to sneak a lazy right uppercut in there.
There you go. There you go, Bobby. Go, Travis.
They're just looking away.
Let him go. Let him go. You're holding him. Work out of it. You're both three.
Jones gets pushed off. See, that's what Bobby's got to do. He's got to roughhouse him, Rich.
Under a minute to go in this fourth round. Yeah, this is kind of the theme of the night thus far in this one. Bobby Gunn waiting just for that one opportunity, that one shot. Roy Jones Jr. mixing in the jab, moving around.
Oh, there's a
yep, there it
quick
was right there.
hand.
Quick right hand. Little flashback, little vintage. Snap the left again as we're closing in on 4 in the books. All right, 4 in the books between Gunn and Jones Jr. Let's check in with Ciro Papati, our unofficial scorer this evening. What do you got, Ciro?
Well, like you said, Mark, I am so surprised Bobby Gunn is not being the aggressor here. He's got to increase the aggression and really get after Roy Jones if he's got any chance. At some point, it looks like he's surprised he's actually still in the fight. He might have stole the first round, but really Jones is dominating, right? 39-37.
And you believe this, a little bit of action. I mean, maybe that's something that certainly Roy Jones Jr. can keep building upon to kind of make it a clean sweep.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, and you can see Roy's starting to ramp it up, and there's a perfect right hand. And now he has him. Roy has him right where he wants him. He's left hooks, jabs, right hands. You know what? Rights to the body. That's maybe the one thing he hasn't shown yet. So when you have a guy like Gunn, think of your whole arsenal,
sure.
then you have a guy any way you want, at any time.
But there will be a point of this fight where Bobby Gunn, as you alluded to, will have to go for broke. He's just going to have to.
Well, we'll see if he does. I mean, you would figure he would have tried to do something early to just say, get his respect, but he wasn't able to do that.
And Roy went on record to the media, look, I'm going to engage. I'm going to make it an entertaining fight. Certainly easy to say to the media. Hasn't panned out like that.
Now there's blood from the nose dripping out of the nose of Bobby Gunn.
Left up top by Roy. Another left. Minute in round number 5, slated for 12. WBF Cruiserweight Championship on the line. Roy Jones Jr., Bobby Gunn, thanks for joining us this evening. Championship boxing back in the first 8, Wilmington, Delaware.
A lot of times, just on top of the skill level, the difference between guys like Jones and Gunn, Roy sees the shots way before than Bobby Gunn does. He's already thinking 2-3 shots ahead.
But it's also, to be fair, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's the skill and the will. The skill, obviously, he's going to win out a lot of the time, but it's also the
good
smartness.
Combination. You saw the left. Then he pulled the trigger on the right. Another right by Roy Jones Jr. Found a home for that straight right. Oh, there it was again. Best round thus far.
Dare I say vintage?
Minute to go, round number 5.
He's showing the whole arsenal of
Yes,
Roy
he
Jones.
is. Another combination up top.
We have an undefeated middleweight behind us, Bobby Gunn Jr., urging his father on. Screaming, "Come on, Dad." There's a right hand by Gunn that sneaks in.
See if he can feed off of that.
There's a left to the body.
Doubled up by Roy Jones Jr. Clancy will let him fight through it.
And now there's some scrapes around the left eye of Bobby Gunn.
Now you know going into round number 6, Roy Jones Jr. will exploit that. He'll continue to exploit that because he's found a home for that straight right. Best round.
I think Roy now knows he can hit him anytime, any place. But Gunn, he's a tough guy. He's going to keep on
He's
coming.
a gamer. He's a gamer. We mentioned 3 straight losses, but has not been active in 3 years in the ring. You documented some of the fighters that he's fought over his career. The Adamax, James Tonys, the Glenn Johnsons of the world. Every time he was ready to step up, just didn't pan out for him. Very good round 5 for Roy Jones Jr.
Some of the action, I think we're going to see some of these blistering right hands by Roy Jones Jr. Just has him right in the middle of the ring.
Set him up with the left.
When this fight's in the middle of the ring, it's no contest.
All right, 5 in the books. We'll get back to Ciro for unofficial scoring. And Ciro, you mentioned that you were waiting for Roy Jones Jr. to be aggressive. We saw it in that round.
We did. And Bobby, really to have any chance in this fight, has become the bare knuckle brawler. He really has to become bare knuckle. Well, he has to get in there and just fight, and he really hasn't.
He's not living up to that moniker.
No.
He should have been doing that from the opening bell.
Yeah, he should have.
Because you have a guy that you know has to call him chinnies, it is what it is with Roy Jones.
It is at this point of his career, absolutely. Absolutely. Early stages, round number 6. Gunn trying to press the action a little more now, early stages, round number 6.
Well, he's starting to get beat up, so he needs to kind of get back in his fight quickly.
And we saw Roy Jones Jr. around number 5 find a home for that right. Everything was set up, whether you want to call it a lazy left or not. Those rights were coming down the boulevard. He was setting them up with those lefts.
Roy Jones in his last bout won 10 rounds against Rodney Moore last August. He hasn't been 12 since 2013. He won a fight in Russia over Zanin Benkarlov.
And you will hear a lot of the critics out there, and like I said, to some extent, it is warranted because you hate to see a legend keep hanging on. It doesn't matter what sport it is, whether it's football, baseball. Boxing's tougher because there's always that battle within. How many great fighters have we seen? 1, 2, 3, 4. They just hung on too long. And you mentioned it as well, Mark. Look, he does a great job doing the broadcast and the telecast. So it's not like he hasn't found a second career in broadcasting. He has. But we're seeing a little bit of vintage Roy Jones Jr. tonight.
Another number you got to look at. Bobby Jones has never been past 8 rounds. So, and he's 43. I mean, we're talking about him.
I mean,
like
again,
he's the
we're
young
not
guy,
belaboring the point, but it's not even the elephant in the room. We know. 43 and 48. Not 23 and 28. Oh, doubled up again by Jones. Showing fast hands right there.
Because he said early in the fight, he still has what I like to call the quicks. He still has some speed. He was so far above everybody that whatever he slipped to, and do you think he's going to compete with the top cruiserweights? Maybe not. But he was so far in terms of skill-wise above everybody that he fought that even his slip, how much he slipped, he's still, a pretty good athlete.
And you can start to see where the fight really turned a little bit is after that third round and then the fourth round, you saw a lot more aggressiveness from Roy Jones Jr. All right, we'll welcome back in Cyril Papati. Again, Cyril, I know we just spoke to you after round number 5. Right. Again, round number 6. Obviously, the scoring I don't think has changed in your estimation. No. Obviously, it hasn't, but what have you seen from Roy Jones Jr. that has impressed you?
Well, he continues to be the great artist, right? He can just continue to land punches at whim, continues to dominate the fight. A little bit there, we saw Bobby Gunn finally become the bully. You know, Roy Jones said that he was worried Bobby Gunn was going to be a bully. And a little bit there, in just maybe a few encounters, we saw Bobby Gunn the bully. Bobby Gunn needs to do that if he has any chance to win this fight.
Well said. We'll check back in a little bit with you. Again, 6 in the book as we get set for round number 7, slated for 12. You mentioned Bobby Gunn hasn't gone 10 rounds?
He hasn't gone past 8.
He hasn't gone past 8.
That was his last bout, Glenn Johnson.
So we're getting in that danger territory right now. Roy Jones Jr. in red trunks, Bobby Gunn in the camouflage trunks, slated for 12. Vacant WBF Cruiserweight Championship on the line.
We talked about Miraz before going 601 rounds. Jones, this is round number 484 of his career.
Unbelievable.
480.
That's a lot of ring time.
Go about 74.
Again, trying to sneak that left downstairs. Ooh. Well, I'm sure the crowd wants to see a little more action. Want to see these two engage a little bit. Straight right by Roy. Well, Ciro said it, you said it, I said it. I think a lot of people viewing at home right now, they know it as well. Bobby Gunn's going to have to just take a shot and go for it.
Yeah, well, right there, he tried to sell out, get a left in.
You got to sell out.
Guess they rolled that punch, the second punch behind the head.
Midway through round number 7. And if you're Roy Jones Jr., you're sticking with the game plan that we've seen from round number 4, round number 5, round number 6. You're not going to change it up at all.
No,
no need
no
to.
Reason to. Gunn gets in the left. So far, this is Gunn's probably best round of the fight.
Gonna have to pick up the pace a little bit.
Just missed with that right hand. Just missed it.
The hand speed was there. He's getting in and out, picking and choosing.
Well, see a big welt running down the right side of Gunn's face.
Oh, great combination! Oh, Roy Jones Jr. just stunned Bobby Gunn.
He's kind of a little upset that Jones didn't go for it. He really rocked Bobby Gunn there.
He did, late stages, round number 7.
10 seconds.
I wouldn't be surprised if the corner of Gunn's puts him on a short leash now.
Great point. That's an excellent, excellent point. So 6 in the books. You know what? Let's throw it to our roving reporter, Joe McQueen the third. And Joe,
all right, well, it's skill versus willing right now. The skill is outlasting the will. Unfortunately, Bobby Gunn is just not being aggressive enough. Like the commentator said, he needs to bully Roy Jones, and he's just not doing it. Roy Jones at 48 still has the skill to pay the bills. I'm going to kick it back to you guys right now, Rich and Mark.
Thank you very much. Excellent job this evening. Joe McEwen III doing some great roving reporter this evening for us. Again, as we take a look at some of the action in round number 7, you saw a little bit of a vintage Roy Jones Jr. with those combinations.
I think as we see him get wobbled really bad in the last round, referee Bill Clancy spent a lot of time in Gunn's corner. Not only is the corner probably have Gunn on a short leash, I think referee Bill Clancy now, as the blood is
dripping out of Gunn's nose. The right side of his face in this fight
stopped. And they're waving it off.
They stopped it. They stopped it. It was inevitable. Even if the fight goes on.
I still think you give Bobby Gunn the benefit of another round or two.
They couldn't stop the bleeding. You see the blood dripping out of his nose.
Well,
they couldn't stop that. It probably would have got worse.
I mean, you got to think fighter safety. You're right. After that closer look, you're right. It's not going to appease the crowd, but Roy Jones Jr. turning back the clock a little bit will walk away with the WBF Vegan Cruiserweight Championship, and there were moments in this fight where he did turn back the clock.
Absolutely, and he did what he needed to do. He had a sitting target in front of him. Bobby Gunn's a tough guy, and the fact that Roy didn't want to step on the gas pedal when he had Gunn wobbled, I mean, he probably would just beat him up some more over the next however long that this fight would have lasted. So I think it's actually saved Bobby Gunn a little bit.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Again, we talked about sometimes in boxing throughout these fights, it's almost inevitable. Clancy might have saw enough in that 7th round. Bobby Gunn's corner perhaps saw way too much. You know what? Let's bring in Ciro for a moment. I mean, good stoppage?
Indeed. I mean, Bobby Gunn was going to get hurt in the upcoming round, no doubt about it. But I think Bobby Gunn, to his credit, can say he took the best that Roy Jones had to offer, and he stayed standing. And he goes home with, I think, 1 round. I think he stole the first round, and he puts that into his treasure chest and says he took 1 round from the great Roy Jones Jr.
Nothing wrong with looking the positive side of things. But again, it'll go down as another win for Roy Jones Jr. That'll get him to 65-9 as we await the official time on this one. And you know, you're right. I mean, listen, it is fighter safety. It is. It's got to be fighter safety at the end of the day. So we'll make it official in a moment. Listen, those last several rounds, Roy Jones Jr., he looked pretty solid out there.
And we're going to see him, whether it's in the United States or overseas, get another opportunity at something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something. He's going to go home, look at the tape. He's going to say how good he looked, and he's going to get another opportunity, Rick.
All right, let's get the particulars on this one and make it official. Back inside the ring to Mark Fratto.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Chase Center in Wilmington, Delaware, and across the globe watching on pay-per-view, the blue corner calls for a halt to the bout. The official time, 7 seconds in round number 8. Here to present the championship belt is Delaware boxing legend Dave Tiberi. To your winner by TKO and the new WBF Cruiserweight Champion of the World from Pensacola, Florida, Roy Jones Jr.
Picture for the press, one more purchase for the press. There you go, for them. There we go. I forgot.
All right, I'm here with the winner, the legendary Roy Jones Jr., and obviously the skill prevailed over will tonight. What do you got to say about your opponent, Bobby, and how do you feel tonight, Roy?
First, I want to say to God be all the glory. Next, Pensacola in the house, as always. And Bobby Gunn is one really, really tough competitor. Bobby Gunn is the only true, real bare-knuckle champion that I know. And so with that being said, he was a heck of a guy. There were times when I may have been able to turn it up and take him out a little earlier, but it's like, I respect who he is. I wanted to give the crowd a show. They wouldn't have got to see that fast combination had I rushed and took it out. So I wanted to give the crowd what they came for. So thank y'all for coming.
Roy, that looked like vintage Roy Jones from the late 90s, early 2000s. What are you planning on moving forward?
I don't know yet, man. If I keep feeling good like I'm feeling now, I'm going to do all that I can to make the best of this situation. And, you know, I love God. I thank God for all that he gives me. And I'm never out here to really cause nobody no true harm. I thank God we all came out fine tonight. And, you know, it's like, this is a great thing. I thank all my fans for always supporting me, all Bobby's fans for supporting him. We both like to thank all y'all for coming out.
I don't know if you saw it on Fight News, but you've been called out by another fighter out of Jersey for the winner of this fight. Did you see it?
No, what's his name?
Mayfield.
Where you want to fight at?
You'll have to ask his manager.
What weight they want to fight at?
Cruiserweight. He wants that belt.
My name is Roy Don't Give a Damn Jones Jr. Roy Don't Give a Damn Jones Jr. at 48 years old. Tell him, come on with it.
Are we going to go ahead and accept that challenge from Mayfield?
If it's worth my time, why not?
Well, we've heard it right here live in the ring. Roy Jones Jr. Mayfield, if you're listening, if you're watching, and I'm sure you are, he's ready to let you take a shot at the WBF Cruiserweight Championship of the World, and it's now presently owned by Mr. Roy Jones Jr. Bobby Gunn. Bobby Gunn.
First of all, Roy's got to be in this, man.
Yeah,
he's a part of this. Come here. I'm an old gypsy boy that come from nothing, and all my family flew here today. Let me tell you something. To get in the ring with Roy Jones Jr. was a shining moment, the greatest night of my life. I love this man, and I want to tell everybody here tonight. I think me and Roy actually is coming to an end. I think the man's great. I think he beat 90% of the world, but you know something? For me, I don't think there's going to be no more. And I want to tell somebody in the world, thank Jesus above tonight for my health and Roy. Yeah. Roy, you're one hell of a man.
Thank you, brother.
And listen to me. God bless everybody in this room here tonight that come to support us. I have no excuses. Man, you're great.
Thank you, brother.
I was actually enjoying him beating me up. I never seen nothing like it in my life. He was better than on HBO. I'm telling you, I was enjoying it. Roy, am I a proper man?
You are a proper man. And we're both proper men because this is something I made a promise to you that I would do over 5 years ago. This Dave Feldman made it right this time. I kept my word and made it happen.
Amen, Roy. Roy, I want to tell you something. I fought some good men in my life. Great men. He's the greatest man that I ever fought in my life tonight. Roy Jones Jr.
Bobby, I've got to ask you, Bobby. You've tasted the power of a lot of punchers. What kind of power does Roy possess?
Huh?
You've tasted the power of a lot of punchers in your career. How much power does Roy Jones Jr. have, Bobby?
Roy Jones's power was like shaking to my spine. I'll be honest. I said, oh, please don't hit me again. It was hurting too much. But you know something? I think he was taking it easy on me because he's my pal.
Well, thanks for putting up a great, brave fight. You fought your heart out. You fought gallantly. Unfortunately, when you fight one of the greatest fighters that ever lived, when you fight one of the top 10 in the history of the game, maybe number one.
Look it. I did something that no gypsy traveler man ever done in life. I fought the greatest fighter that ever lived. And I didn't get knocked out. I went on my shield like a proper man. But I want to say something to my little wife, Rose, at home, 23 years married. And my wee girl, Charlene, the love of my life. And my French bulldog, Max, who's sitting up in the room in a little cage. I got to get up to him, Roy. Yeah, I'm missing him.
All right, thank you, brother.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Now, Mr. Gibbs, the Vice President, James Gibbs, the Vice President of the WBF, wants to say a few words.
Roy, on behalf of the WBF, we are honored to have you as our WBF, our World Boxing Foundation's Cruiserweight Champion of the World, my man.
Thank you, my brother.
Congratulations, Roy Jones. Congratulations, Mr. Gibbs.
Call in the house. Y'all know how we do it.
Fans, we've got more fights on tap after we go off live.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. Good stuff inside the ring with Roy Jones Jr. and an extremely humble and grateful Roy Jones Jr., as well as a very humble and grateful Bobby Gunn. We'll get to Roy Jones Jr. in a moment. Let's get to Bobby Gunn. When you really think about it, good stoppage. You got to give him all the credit in the world because, again, you can talk about him being 43 years of age. You can talk about him being a legend when it comes to bare-knuckle boxing. But the bottom line is he took the fight. You have to give him credit. He's still 43. He took a lot of the punches. And you can sense when Joe was interviewing him that he was really grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah,
and if you take something away, I think you're more of a fan of Bobby Gunn.
Yeah, I've talked to Bobby a lot over the years, and this fight he coveted. This is a fight that, like we said a couple times, as we see Bobby getting pleasure, getting beat up tonight, as he said. He took pleasure getting beat up by him. This is a fight that he wanted, and it was a dream come true. You know, we were saying if he could win to have his name on his record, Bobby Gunn, Glenn Johnson, James Toney, Thomas Adamek, Roy Jones. You know, he fought four of the best fighters of this era, the last 15, 20 years, and Roy Jones is, a lot of people think, the best, and they're saying in the ring maybe top 10 all time. And you know, it's a fight that he really wanted. He got it. He took his shot, took his best shot, and came up short.
Now we'll bring back in Ciro. And Ciro, I know, again, as his fight progressed, it was kind of inevitable, but what was your takeaways? Let's talk about Bobby Gunn for a moment. What did you take away?
I think Bobby Gunn, as each round went on, was surprised that he was continuing. He was saying, okay, I could take these punches, but unfortunately for Bobby, never became that bully that we were looking. Get in Roy Jones's face and take over the fight. Now, in terms of Roy Jones, I thought I was at more or less a Sinatra concert in the 1980s. Yes, the throat was a little sore. Yes, he's not the singer he was.
That's a great analogy, by the way.
But you know what? He has a hell of a swagger. He has a hell of a swagger, and he showed us tonight. He's still the chairman of the board.
That's an excellent, excellent analogy. All right, let's throw it back inside the ring to Joe McEwen III.
I have a heart attack. The guy was working with me the day of the fight. Like, he fucking kidding me.
All right, I'm here with David Feldman of David Feldman Promotions, along with his son, David Feldman Jr. An exciting card, a card full of some incredible bouts. Give us your thoughts on tonight's event.
Electric. One word, Joe, electric. It was electric in Wilmington, Delaware tonight. I think we showed Wilmington, Delaware a little something different tonight. I think everybody had a great time. And, you know, hopefully we can bring something back here to this great state. But it was just unbelievable to be able to promote a fight involving a living legend, 10-time world champion, 4-division champion, Roy Jones Jr. Just a phenomenal night.
It was a phenomenal night. The fight didn't go the way Gunn wanted it to. However, Roy Jones showed that he still has the skills. And at 48, what do you think's next for this guy? Do you think he really should pursue Mayfield and continue on?
Well, I think, look, he should fight as long as he wants to fight, as long as he thinks he can fight. And look, tonight, did he prove he can fight? He proved he can still fight. So he should still fight. How? Who are we to tell that guy he can't go make a living?
I have to concur. Do you have any thoughts on the fight?
I thought it was a great fight, and we're really excited to be able to bring this kind of event to Wilmington, and the people of Wilmington really came out and supported it, and we couldn't be happier.
All right, folks, with that, we got David one more time.
But this was a great fight. This was a great atmosphere, a great event. But wait to see what we have in store next. We're taking the gloves off. Bare knuckle fighting championship coming very, very soon to a state will be named very soon, bare knuckle fighting champions. So we're taking the gloves off. We are bringing bare knuckle fighting back to the United States.
Well, that's a heck of a teaser for the audience. Can you tell us any more about it?
It's just going to be the most exciting sport around. It's going to be unbelievable. We have a ton in store. We have a ton of things lined up, and they're all going to be disclosed very, very shortly. And we're just super excited because, look, it's the next big thing, guaranteed. And who knows? If we're lucky, maybe someone will let us do it here in this great state.
That would be awesome if we could bring it here to Delaware, where you heard it straight from David Feldman of David Feldman Promotions. Bare knuckle fighting coming to an arena near you. Right now I'm going to kick it back to my partners Rich and Mark down in the booth.
Okay, sorry, earpiece. You got it in? You're good? You good? Oh. He's got to pot up this camera.
Nope. They can hear me?
Yeah.
Can they hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what a great night of fights. The co-main event, the Kazaka Islam, what a warrior. Got headbutted, comes out and finishes his man in the first round. Roy Jones showed everybody that he still possesses the skill, the will, the desire, and he ran the show tonight. It was a shutout on the cards. I believe if it went another round, there might have been a stoppage, but you got to give credit to Bobby Gunn. He was getting hit with everything but the kitchen sink tonight, and he kept on his feet. He's got square heels and a chin made of granite. So we're going to hopefully see Roy Jones take on the challenge of Mayfield over in New Jersey, and maybe Bobby Gunn returns to bare knuckle fighting. We'll have to see. Dave Feldman sure did tell us that he's bringing it somewhere, and we did have the governor of Delaware here tonight. Maybe we can make something happen here. We don't know. But tonight, fans, this was the fight for you guys, and we hope that you tune in for more events from TV, Box TV, and Brian Ricco. And
all right, Joe, thank you very much, my friend. Excellent job this evening back downstairs at the broadcast table. Rich Caniones alongside Mark Abrams. A very interesting night of boxing, to say the least, on pay-per-view. A great production put on by David Feldman Promotions. And really, you know, Roy Jones Jr., he was the marquee name on this card this evening. Everyone was waiting to see if he had any gas left in the tank. And I think early on it was a feeling out process against a very game and gritty Bobby Gunn. But ultimately, you saw some flashes, a little vintage Roy Jones Jr. this evening, Mark Abrams.
He turned back the clock a little bit tonight. I mean, he showed the quicks. Granted, he had the right opponent in front of him. Basically, you ever see a T-ball game? He had a guy on the team. He just kept drilling. No head movement by Bobby Gunn. Didn't try to move his head, even try to get inside a little bit. So he had the right guy in front of him. Now, will Roy Jones, he was pretty non-committal. He was pretty non-committal about what he wants to do next, but he looked good enough to where he may warrant an opportunity. I'm not saying about a world title or anything like that, but an opportunity against a named guy. They mentioned Amamu Mayfield, who's a former cruiserweight champion. He's another guy, a little bit older. That maybe they can make some money with.
Did he do enough tonight against an opponent in Bobby Gunn where he could warrant a little more buzz going forward? Because again, like I said, he's the name. You throw out the name Roy Jones Jr. We already know what the legacy is. The legacy's intact, but I think it's kind of hard to judge a fight like tonight, even though we saw some flashes.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, his name is going to outweigh anything that he does or doesn't bring to the table. So I expect him. He's gone this far. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to retire after a performance that, you know, when he goes back and look at it, he may say to himself that he still has a little bit more left in the tank.
And you saw a very humble Bobby Gunn afterwards, who took some of Roy's best shots in the 5th and the 6th round.
Or what else can you say?
Exactly, before Clancy saw enough. But what's really interesting is I think he's almost helping the sport. You heard David Feldman, you heard Joe McEwen III talk about bare knuckle boxing, how they really want to try to put it on the map as well. Maybe you see that crossover, but you talk about a boxer that you can brand it after. I mean, you have a guy in Bobby Gunn.
Absolutely. We'll see. He still has that 73-0, 73 knockout record.
It's pretty. You can't do anything about that.
Exactly. Maybe he retires with that too, but you know, he's perfect in it.
And I also think subsequently, one of the most impressive performances this evening was Kanat Islam, who came in undefeated, had that knockout power, overcame adversity early on in the fight with the accidental clash of heads to headbutt to cut over his right eye. It was a nasty cut. But you mentioned the fact that he was able to overcome adversity in that one and score the brilliant knockout.
You see some of the action here tonight. Joey Tiberi with a good win. You see Frankie D'Alba, good solid performance. You see now we're talking about Islam. He's going to land the right hand that knocks ropes in on his Assis.
Yes, absolutely. And we saw it right there. There's brilliant knockout power there, and he called out a couple fighters as well. You mentioned Canelo in the start. Impressive performance as well. And then we're seeing some highlights from our main event, Roy Jones Jr., Bobby Gunn for the WBF Cruiserweight Championship.
From the opening bell, Bobby Gunn didn't stick to the game plan, which I'm sure was to go in and move forward and move his hands. None of that happened. He became a sitting duck for Roy Jones, and Roy Jones picked him apart, beat him up. His face was all discombobulated and disconformed, and you saw what happened.
And I also think, let's not forget this, let's not have this get lost in translation, but you saw championship boxing back in the first 8. It's been a long time. You and I have done some fights years ago down in Dover, at this particular venue as well, at the Chase Center in Wilmington, Delaware. But it's good to see the crowd was electric. They were in it from the get-go. I know they wanted to see that main event go a little more, go the distance perhaps, but still, they were in it from the get-go.
And what a great crowd, like you said tonight, standing room only. There were people lined up on the walls all the way around here. I kind of peeked out during one of the undercard fights, and it was just a tremendous atmosphere here at the Chase Center, Rich.
We also saw the southpaw Frankie D'Alba back in action, as well as Joey Tiberi. What are your thoughts on D'Alba?
D'Alba will be in a fight against another top junior lightweight shortly. He's going to try to test up, and he's, like you said, he's a lot more confident in who he is now, and a lot more confident in his ability. And maybe the experience of the Douglas loss is going to help him the next big fight.
Yeah, and then Joey Tiberi making his return to the ring after a 3-year absence as well.
Absolutely. Joey Tiberi scored the knockout in the last minute of the fight. We'll see him again soon as well.
Well, it was a wonderful night of boxing, and again, Roy Jones Jr., the veteran, walking away with his WBF Cruiserweight Championship. And again, Skill vs. Will has been presented by David Feldman Promotions in association with Nelson Promotions. Executive producer, Brian Ricco. Tonight's event has been produced and directed by Ira Glass. For Mark Abrams, Joe McEwen III, Ciro Papiti, I'm Rich Quinones. Thanks for joining us, and good night.